Good afternoon, I'm Bill Anderson, coming live from a sunny day on the Costa del Sol. We've had a bit of rain this week, which has been great. The weeds will be growing in the garden in no time. I'm delighted to be joined today by an international medium, and we're going to be talking all things tarot. I don't know. Anne Makinson, you're going to tell us what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Bill.
So, Anne, you are a medium. You do palm readings. You do tarot card readings. You do readings over the phone. You sound like you're a very busy woman.
Yes, I certainly am, Bill. Yes, I've been doing this quite a long while now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I love
Anne,
what I do.
we're going to get into the really interesting stuff in just a moment. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from originally, Anne?
I'm from Ireland. I was born in Dublin.
Oh, right. You've lost the accent though.
Well, yes, because Mama moved us from Ireland when I was 13.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
And did you move to the UK?
Yes, we did. We moved to the UK and I lived in the UK till I moved to Spain 23 years ago. I moved to
Right.
Spain.
Yeah, so that's I've been here about 21 years, so we've been here about the same length of time, why did you pick this part of Spain? Because it's sunny?
Mainly so originally we were supposed to go to Gibraltar, but we landed here through friends that we met. And yeah, so we never did move to Gibraltar. Yeah,
Right.
so I'm still based here in Spain. And my first job was working with the town crier.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I used to do the stars for them.
Right. Yeah. The town crier what was a sort
Yeah,
of English language newspaper, wasn't it?
yeah, it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very enjoyable.
Right. So you were employed there as the resident
Astrologer.
astrologer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great.
And there's a lot of sort of different things that I wonder how connected they all are. Maybe you can tell us. We hear about mediums and psychics and clairvoyance, and well, there's
Mhm.
astrology, as you've mentioned, and palm reading, and all of this whole kind of I'm going to call it, for want of a better term, mystical world, because for many of us, it is a mystical world. We don't necessarily understand it all. Can you say something about the relationship between all these things, or are they all part of the same thing?
Well, they're all interconnected.
Right,
The tarot cards have been out. They've been going forever. They've been going since the 13th century up to the 17th century. They've been all over the world.
right,
And they're known, specifically known in France, i.e. The Rider-Waite was one of the first in France and is very popular and is still going in here and now.
right.
So that's the tarot. It's wonderful. It's very mystical.
Yes,
It's
yes.
intriguing, and it can show you the past, the present, and the future.
Okay.
Obviously, it have to be professional. Really, it's not just a game, because when you're reading, if you're going to want to do this job, you have to learn each and every card in the pack or
Right,
different things. But most of it is used. There's an awful lot of intuition that comes with reading for so long or having that little gift anyway.
right, right. And you used the word there, and gift.
Yeah.
Is this something that you were born with, or something that came around later in your life? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
No, it was definitely in the family.
Right,
My nana read the tea leaves.
right,
My great nana was the same, and the one before.
right.
So it's definitely around the family. Everybody seemed to have this knowledge. If they
Yeah,
weren't reading the teacups for people, that's what nana used to do.
right. So
Um,
they call it the sight, don't they, in Ireland?
yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, it's wonderful. It's
Yeah.
your intuition. That's what I say to people, listen to your intuition. You can feel things, know things, just a knowing and being
Yeah.
able to see things. It's just magical, Bill.
Yeah, it's interesting. You said that your grandparents, your grandmother, great grandmother had this gift.
Yeah.
You didn't mention your mother. Did it skip a generation, or did something
No, my
happen
mama
there?
wouldn't use it. She was scared of it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Mama didn't want to go that way, but she knew I certainly had the gift.
Yeah. And when did the first sort of signs of that happen for you, Anne?
I was quite young. I started seeing and feeling things. I started seeing spirit. I started receiving messages like um, knowing when something was going to happen in the family. Like when someone was ill, I was able to tell Mama that her brother had just said, I've got to go now, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't know what I was talking about. And then within 20 minutes, there was a knock on the door that her brother had passed away. He was across the road from us. So yes, there's lots of little things that just kept reoccurring like that, being
Yeah.
able to say things and see things and say things. And then, of course, in them times, you'd get some people saying, oh, that's ridiculous. How could that happen? How could skeptics,
Yes.
people around?
Yeah, I think that, there are a lot of different, I think, attitudes to this whole sort of spiritual world. And I guess there are
Very
some
true.
people who just say, it's a load of rubbish. And there are some
Yeah,
people who are skeptics, um, but want to believe it's true.
this is true. Yeah,
Um,
this is true. And it's okay to be skeptics.
and
It's okay.
there are also those who are convinced that this is all very real. Um, how would you deal with the skeptic? And if somebody contacts you, because skeptics sometimes want to believe it, but they're just not sure about it. How would you as a medium deal with that?
It's not a problem because I think it's great when you can actually prove to someone who doesn't believe in it.
Mm,
You can give them the evidence of what I'm doing, what
right,
we can do. So I welcome it. I do not shy off from people who don't understand or don't know, because the proof at the end of the day is in the pudding.
right. Right.
And
So
it will
you
keep,
you would be able to do something or say something or tell them
yeah,
something that
that nobody else
no
knows
one else knows. Yeah.
except him, yeah, or
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the difference.
you've lived in this world for a very long time, and I'm talking about the spiritual world, and
Mm-hmm.
not that you've lived in this world for a long time.
Well, I have that as well.
um,
Yes, I'm very lucky.
yeah, I mean, you must have seen sort of, every every approach, every attitude towards this in your time, sort of as a medium. You must have come
Certainly.
across sort of everyone basically, from the real, nah, it's a load of rubbish, right to people who, without even having to consider it, think, yeah, this is all real. Are there people out there, and this is a loaded question. I'm going to ask you anyway.
Mm.
You know, we get the word charlatans out there, people who say
Mm-hmm.
they can.
Yeah,
Are there these people out there?
of course there are. Of course there are. It's like in every profession, Bill.
Right,
Someone who says that they're the best this or the best that. Of course there are. You
right,
cannot just pick up a pack of tarot cards and decide that you're going to be a medium. That's not going to happen. Yet
right,
it's so much work. There's so much to know. You've got to know the ins and outs of the tarot and what it means in life. Because the
right,
tarot card pack is all about your life. It starts with the
right.
four card, the beginning.
Yeah. So I guess what you're saying here, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, But I'm sure that there are YouTube videos that people could just watch. They can't just watch a YouTube video and say, "Oh, I'm going to be a tarot card reader now."
I'm sure some people might,
I'm
but I
sure some
certainly
people
wouldn't do
do.
it for somebody else, with no knowledge at the back of it.
Uh-huh.
There is some amazing people who do tarot on YouTube. Absolutely amazing.
Uh-huh.
And then there's others that, you just know.
Right. Yeah, I'm not even thinking about the people who are doing this on YouTube. I'm thinking more about people who think they can watch a YouTube video and just become a tarot card reader.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty that would think that, but it's not. I actually started reading with playing cards.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
And
that was my first deck many, many moons ago.
and I guess are the principles the same then?
Yeah, very much so. Only they're not as bright, obviously, a normal. But it's difficult for me sometimes when people are playing cards because I do like cards and I tend to read into them.
Right.
that
Yeah, yeah,
they're,
yeah.
they're totally different. Like a pack of playing cards
Uh-huh.
don't obviously only have like the kings, the queens, the jacks, and so it's not as vast as the tarot,
Right.
but they're still readable
Right.
if you understand the suits.
Okay. Right.
And they all have hidden meanings.
Uh-huh. Right.
Yeah.
So, and what kind of things would people generally come to you? I mean, let's be honest. Who
Hmm.
who doesn't want to know the future, especially if it's good news? But
Yeah.
what I don't know how people feel about bad news in the future. But what kind of things would people generally come to you with, and what is it they're looking for?
Well, it's like direction in life, or there's something's happened in their life,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously want to know. And obviously, the proof is that I can see what's already happened and where they're going. And perhaps they're thinking of moving to a different country, or perhaps they want to get married, meet a lover. Perhaps they want to have a child and feel they can't have one for many, many reasons. And health things, to
Right.
come and check their health. I've been doing it forever, Bill. I absolutely love what I do. And I also have helped teenagers with angel cards who are now young, beautiful, amazing adults. And I've been doing this for years with the little ones because I wouldn't touch tarot cards with children.
All right. Okay. Okay. I,
Yeah.
I don't know angel cards. Can you explain what that is, Anne?
Well, it's like messages from above. It depends on what you believe in, of course. And there's all kinds of angel cards out there. They just give you like messages about your life. They practically talk to you. They're very similar to tarot.
Mm,
Give you messages and show you the picture of what's going on, what you should do, and the message of us. And they're great healing cards as well.
right. Right.
Same with the tarot. They're wonderful. They're great for youngsters. I
Uh-huh.
also use them when I'm finishing my readings. I always finish with an angel reading, and it corresponds with the reading. And the reading usually takes about an hour. Sometimes it goes more, depends on what's happening in the person's life.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, you said that, but possibly one of the first sort of times that this came out was when you got this message that your uncle was dying. Um, I think for a lot of people, this idea of contacting people who have passed on
Yeah.
is a big thing, isn't it?
Yes, and it is. Yes, and it is possible.
Yeah.
It is.
Tell us how that happens.
How it happens.
Yeah, I come to you and let's just say that there's been a bereavement in the family.
Hmm.
And I want to, I don't know, what am I looking for? Am I looking to give them a message? Am I looking for them to give me a message?
Most likely for them to give you a message.
Right.
you know, you don't even necessarily have to come and say, I'd like a message from, you wouldn't say that to me because it would happen anyway. If it's something that like, if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. And I can feel the energy changing in the room, and so can the clients.
Right.
And then I will pick up the person that they're looking for, if it's them, whoever it is in the family, and I'll give them a description of what they look like
Right.
and how they passed and the times when they were together, things they did. So much proof there, Bill. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah. And what kind of messages? This is maybe a silly question, but I get to ask silly questions. But what kind of messages would someone have for people who are still here, that someone who's passed on?
Well, they will probably tell me something a little bit, maybe tell me a little bit about the passing
Mm.
and who was there, who wasn't there. Um, Also, they will talk about a time that they spent together when the family was together. They'll show me and talk about events, and they'll mention birthdays. They'll mention how close they were. They'll whatever they want to pass over to the family, and they'll also be given the messages on how to look after themselves and say, do you remember that you wore that beautiful red dress at that time? And it's just, and it wakens memories for the people who are actually coming for the reading as well.
Right. Okay.
And we're all spirits at the end of the day, you know, we're all spirits just having an earthly experience, Bill.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what people want also fundamentally to believe, Anne, isn't it? I think it's a very sad existence, thinking, what is the expression? Get born, get fed, get laid, get dead. If when, when
No, it's no, it's. I like it. I like that. I do like that, but no, it goes beyond that.
Yeah, no, but I think I'm not a religious person, I have to say, and
Yeah,
I don't think religion has got anything to do with these
no,
beliefs.
no.
I think, for people who are religious and have beliefs that are founded in that religion, I say
Hmm.
fine. But I think that people can be, I think for want of a better term, spiritual without
Hmm.
necessarily being religious.
This is very true. You don't have to be a part of a church or a nomination to be spiritual. We're all spiritual people, good and bad.
Yes, yeah,
And this, to me, this just to me, it's like a classroom.
right, yes.
You come into the world, you know, as a baby,
Mm,
blind, not knowing anything, and it's just like watching the tarot. This is how you start out,
right,
and then as you grow, you learn. You're supposed to learn. You're supposed to learn as you go on. Yes, people make mistakes. We all make mistakes. That's normal, and we're meant to. But it's only by learning that you can rectify your mistakes.
yeah, and let's be honest, we learn far more from our mistakes than from our successes, don't we?
Let's face that. That is so true. Yeah, that really is. Yeah. Oh, me. And the biggest thing is what I would say to most people, everybody really, listen to your gut instincts. Let that be your guide. Even if you never want to see a medium or anything like that, just listen. Just listen. If something feels right, you should do that. Do it. If
Mm,
you go, if it's a little bit, oh, I'm uncertain, don't act on it because
right,
everything is either a lesson or a blessing.
right.
So try and be guided by your gut instincts.
Yeah, and I think, I worked in psychological services in the UK, and we even within this, which is a fairly clinical setting, we did
Mm.
talk about the proprioceptive sense, and the proprioceptive sense is basically the gut.
Yeah.
And how many times, could all of us say, you know, I got the feeling I shouldn't have done that, and I did it anyway, and it didn't work out. I wish I'd
Yeah.
listened to my gut.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just letting you know. But years ago, I was working in a psychiatric unit
Right.
in the UK, and that was very relevant. That suited me to the ground.
Mm.
That is just like we say, it's a hospital thing, so it's totally different. But also, there's so many different people with so many different things going on, and I also think the psychology of it all. How people are treated. If there is a problem, there could be a lot more care. There could be a lot more different treatments out there for that kind of thing. I thoroughly enjoyed what I did.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also interested. We talked about church, and so I'm not knocking anybody who is
No.
members of a church, or members of shall we call it an organized religion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just wonder. Ireland itself is a kind of mysterious place,
It is.
because it has such old. When I say old beliefs, I don't mean outdated, but old beliefs, old traditions. And
Yeah.
then you've also got this very strong pull of the church in Ireland. How you moved away from Ireland,
Yeah.
probably when this part of your life was really developing. Are you aware that there's a kind of clash between what you do and what the church teaches, and how does that sort of
Oh,
work out in
yes.
reality?
The church would not agree, certainly not agree with what I do, because obviously I was born in Ireland, and yes, well, I was born into a very Catholic family. And yes, some religions bring some people comfort,
Of course, yeah.
and some they don't. So I think they would not, you were not allowed to look at. I actually went to a priest once and asked for some advice
Mm,
because of a lot of things that had happened in and around our family. And I wanted to know if this was God's will. It was just a normal question. And this priest I knew very well, because lots of things had happened that was pretty dire, and it was very worrying. And I wanted to know if he could explain to me, why we had so many losses, what had happened, had something happened. And of course, he couldn't give me the answers I needed. Plus, that's in a lot of paranormal stuff happening around friends,
right.
i.e., because they've been playing with Ouija boards, which you should never meddle with at all. And I couldn't get the answers I needed. And of course, slowly but surely, I did move away from the church, although it gave me great comfort as a young one, because that's what I knew.
Yeah. In the Middle Ages, you probably would have been burned as a witch or something, Anne, no?
I think I have been in the past, actually, Bill. I
Have
think
you?
I've been burnt. Yes, I do, because I do believe in past lives.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think that we just come here just the once. Some people don't come back, but yes, some people keep coming back in different centuries.
Right.
And you can tell by the things you collect throughout your life. You can tell by the countries you're drawn to. There's messages everywhere.
Yes.
It's like some children have the same life. I've been here before. I've lived here.
Yes.
And I also feel, yeah, and yes, definitely, I'm sure I was burnt as a witch. And then I had a terrible fear of knives. So
Right.
there's a good chance I had something to do with Anne Boleyn as well. It
Right.
was,
Yeah, listen, I watched a fascinating video. This is a few years back now, called the Boy Who Lived Before.
yeah.
And absolutely fascinating. This little boy in Glasgow was talking about his Barra mummy. Now,
Oh,
if you live in
yeah.
Glasgow, you don't even know where Barra is. Most Scots probably don't even know where Barra is. Oh, I think Dave has just had he said he's left the meeting. probably means that we've gone offline, but we'll keep talking anyway because I'm recording this.
Okay, we'll carry on.
Yeah,
Yes, fine.
but this little boy kept on talking about Barra, and Barra is one of the, I think, Hebridean islands. And
Yeah.
they were able to actually track down the house that he described in the place, an
Hmm.
old photograph of a dog that he described who had lived there, and
Yeah.
it's absolutely fascinating.
It certainly is. It's only when you start looking. I don't live in a box. You have to look outside the box
Uh-huh.
because I do believe we're all spiritual beings, and
Hmm.
this is just our schoolroom.
Right.
And I do believe, yes, some people do come back, to different centuries or come back into the family. A baby lost can come back into the family to another member of the family.
Right. Right.
There's so many mystical things. I think you should do your research.
Mm.
And like, as for, people who don't believe, maybe just do a bit more research.
Yeah, you know, I think what I've been finding recently, Anne, is that, not even just in this world, but people want the answers without doing the work.
Ah,
You know,
yeah, we all want that.
people will rather than, look up something on Google, for example, they'd rather put a post on Facebook saying, when 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 do the post offices open in Spain? What time do they open at? And it's like, well, in the time that you've taken to put this onto Facebook, you could have just Googled it yourself. But, they don't want to do the work. They want everyone else to, I don't know,
Yeah,
tell
it's
them.
like a quick fix.
Yeah, yeah.
But we didn't have that before. Now we've got, with the digital age, there's so much. Life is so different to when I was young.
Yeah, of course it is. Listen, Anne, we're going to take a short break now. I'm not quite sure what happened. We disappeared for a moment, or
That's the
Dave
problem.
disappeared for a moment.
Yeah.
But I can see that something is happening on his computer screen there, but I think we're back.
Okay.
So we're going to take a short break, and we're going to have the Bee Gees. There's a blast from the past, isn't it? And then we'll be
Certainly.
back in just a few minutes, Anne.
Thank you, Bill.
Welcome back. I'm Bill Anderson, coming live from the Costa del Sol, and joined today by international medium, tarot card reader, palm reader, spiritualist, all sorts of things, Anne Makinson. And welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Glad to be back.
I think this is a fascinating topic for most people, Anne. Um, Something that I wonder how you deal with. You're doing a tarot card reading for someone,
Hmm.
and you see something that, well, frankly, doesn't look good.
Uh-huh.
How would you deal with that? How would you, I've heard people say, oh, you don't tell them bad things. How would you deal with that? If you saw something and it's like, there is no future, for example.
Yeah, that can happen, Bill. Definitely. But usually, before I begin, when I have a client with me, it's always private, one-to-one.
Mm,
I will state, is there anything because some people don't want to know everything.
sure.
If someone is, they'll say, oh, please don't tell me if you see anything bad.
Right.
And I actually said to this lady, and I don't, if this is what they want. And then I also put it into a different perspective as, but what if I see someone very poorly, but very ill, and I could find a way that something could be done to help them.
Mm,
Do I keep that back? Because I've done an audience before where I saved a young girl's life. It took me 3 weeks to find her because I did an audience, and she was a young lady from South Africa.
right.
And I picked her up in the audience, and I didn't give a message out over an audience. I just said, I'd like to see you when I finish, young lady.
Mm,
So she vanished, but it took me 3 weeks, maybe but good 3 weeks to find her. And I needed to see her because I saw something I didn't like. And so she did come to me, and I told her she immediately had to go to the doctors because there was a serious problem. And she did. She listened to me. She went to the doctors. And 6 months later, she got back in contact with me, and she said, Anne, she said, I'm glad. I'm glad you searched for me. She had cancer. Only a young woman, 28 years of age.
Right.
And they sorted her. And she
Right.
called me to thank me.
Right.
So, it's hard, but I do listen to the person's wishes. If they say, please don't tell me anything bad, and I'll say, depends on what your bad is. If you're thinking if it's a passing of things, well, yeah, I will. I listen to the wishes because you have to.
Right.
It's only right. But I
Yeah.
will say that so-and-so's not very well. If I see that, I will say everything I see. I don't
Right.
hide it unless they specifically ask me not to.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because that must be quite a tough situation to be in, and not
Yeah,
knowing how people are going to react to that kind of news.
yeah. I do let them know that I do say everything I see. So they have got a choice to say, oh, if you don't, please don't tell me anything.
Right.
And I mean, more so I understand that if there's already been a lot of grief in the family, I get that.
Yes.
So if it comes out in the cards, I will just give a short description of what I see.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever time a passing.
Right. What about reading palms? Because this probably goes back as far as humans
Yeah.
have had palms, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that goes back. Yeah. Gypsies, Egyptians. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what kind of things can you tell by looking at someone's palms?
Not as much as you can with the tarot,
Right.
obviously. They're obviously right hand, left hand. Your left hand is your sensitive side. You can see there's your lifeline is on
Mm.
both hands. And then we've got your career line that runs down the middle. And then we have the headline and the heart line. And
Mm.
then there's also lines at the side of your hands. And you can see babies on there or marriages. You can see a career move. There's lots you can see on the hand.
Right. Right.
See heartbreak on the hand. You can see a lot.
How does this work in practice? I'm thinking, for example, Anne,
Mm.
of somebody who taps away at a keyboard in the office all day compared to somebody who's I don't know, a bricklayer or a manual worker.
Okay.
One would imagine that quite naturally their hands would be very different. You've got maybe the soft hand from the keyboard warrior, and the
Yeah.
toughened calloused hands from the I don't know, the
Yeah.
bricklayer.
Smooth.
So how you know uh, to what does that to what degree does that influence what their hands tell you?
Very little. Very little. Because you can have somebody really soft hands. You still have the same lines there.
Right. Okay.
Lines are not going to vanish. They'll just be and everybody's palms are different. You'll all have the same lines, but the headline, the lifeline will be wider or longer than some. Every hand is unique, Bill, whether you're typing or whether you're a bricklayer.
Right. Okay. So a person's occupation is not necessarily going to change.
No, no,
What you would see when you look at the palms.
no. I think the only other difficulty would be if there was a big scar there, but you'd still see a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's obviously something that you would do just person to person. I don't suppose you would do a video call and do a palm reading or something, would you?
No, not at all.
No.
No, no, no.
Sort
That's
of
not
someone,
possible.
holding the
No, I
hand
know.
up.
No, I need to hold the hand and go through the lines, and then obviously I have to tune in before I start,
Yeah. Yeah, I
like
mean,
any reading.
I have seen this done, and people will very often, fold the hand to emphasize
Yeah,
the lines, yeah,
like
which
yeah.
you can't do by video call.
No, you can't do that. No, that's a definite no.
Uh-huh.
Definitely no. Yep.
But there are other things that you can do remotely, aren't there?
Yeah.
So you do phone readings. What would that involve?
Um, well, somebody requesting a phone reading, i.e., because they're in another country, or they can't get to me for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still the same. It's on video, it's on camera, it's not video, camera. And yeah, it's mainly tarot
Right.
that you,
Okay.
because obviously, as we know, we can't do hands online
No.
through the phone. So um, yeah, and then we arrange a meeting, and then I go through what I do, who I am,
Mm-hmm.
and how I work. And I take my time to read for these people, and I absolutely love what I do.
Right. And is this something that people can learn, or is this something that you really have to, you have to be born with it and can develop it, or is it something that people can just get up one morning and say, "Oh, I think I'm going to learn how to be a psychic, or how to be a medium, or how to be," what is your view on that?
Well, I don't think you can just wake up and think I'm going to be a psychic. Usually, somewhere in the family, it's a gift, And
Yeah.
even with the tarot, you can't just wake up and say, "Oh, do you know I'm going to do tarot readings," because it's so intense. You
Right.
have to know the ins and outs of every meaning on the 78 cards in the pack. There's a
Yeah.
major arcana, there's a minor arcana. You have to know them inside out, and you have to know the meanings, and you have to know what they mean, where they fit in on the reading, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's for that person or someone else. It's intense. Nobody can just say, "Oh, I can look online and say, oh, I'm now a tarot reader," because it would be disastrous.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to ask you, it's maybe a strange question, Anne, but I'm going to
Okay.
ask you anyway. Um,
Mhm.
I'm thinking, when we have been to Scotland, Vicky loves Scotland.
I do.
And she says it's well, certainly not the weather, but it's the kind of energy of the place,
Yeah.
being so much surrounded by water. I mean, you basically can't walk a mile without tripping into a loch.
Yeah.
And she certainly feels that the energy of the place is important. Does that come into it in any way? And if so, what energies do you get from living here in Spain?
It's totally different. Totally different living here in Spain. The Irish connection and the Celt thing, and the same with Scotland. It's kind of peaceful. It kind of takes you back to different centuries, the way things were then. But also, it's also, I find it very spiritual to be in these places. Spain is a totally different kettle of fish,
Hmm.
because my first year here, I stood on the terrace under the full moon talking to everybody, and I said, it wasn't even a full year, and I said, "What have you sent me here for?" Because I was belonging to healing churches and groups of meditations and things, and I couldn't find anybody spiritual. It was very
Right,
difficult.
right.
But I dug my heels in because I had 4 children in tow.
Uh-huh,
I
right.
thought this is going to give them a better life.
Yeah. Yeah, and regardless of where you stand in this whole mystical world, you still have
Hmm.
practical considerations to take on board, don't you?
Exactly, exactly. I did, and I did think, oh my goodness, perhaps I've made a mistake. Perhaps my instincts were wrong. But then I spoke to some man, obviously, who'd moved here, and he said to me, "Anne, give it 18 months." He said, "If you haven't settled in 18 months, go."
Right.
And and it was hard, because I think I cried for the most of that first year.
Yeah. What was the hard bit for you? Was it the language, the culture, the bureaucracy, I don't know, what was hard for you in that move?
I think it was madness, actually, doing what I did. I didn't know a word of Spanish apart from the odd one.
Right.
The little ones didn't know anything about Spanish, and I put them into Spanish school, and that must have been very difficult for them. Plus, leaving family, because I'm from a massive family, and
Right.
it was like we were on our own. So yeah, I practically changed everybody's lives,
Mm.
and I hope they forgive me for it and don't. Some of my children have gone back to the UK.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, still got a very strong family here, and I've got grandchildren here now,
Hmm.
and I've got grandchildren in the UK and great grandbabies.
Yeah. 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 It's I mean it's a beautiful place to live, and I think what I like about it here, you say, but I don't know if it's being a Scot, but it's the water.
Yeah,
And you know,
yeah,
sometimes we don't live sort of we're about 2 kilometers inland from the sea, but sometimes we sit outside at night and you can hear the waves rushing over onto the beach, and there's something very comforting about, for me, you
yeah.
know,
I agree.
the sound of water.
Mhm.
We're not beach lovers, but we do go down in winter time and take long walks along the beach. And there's something about that energy that I think is really powerful.
Yes, it is magical, especially on a full moon and bare
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah, Vicky is a huge fan of bare feet. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter whether it's
no,
grass or sand or
yeah.
whatever, but she's a huge fan of getting the shoes off.
I'm exactly the same because when you're wearing trainers, rubber shoes, you're not in tune.
Right. And this is
You
about about
can't be in tune.
earthing and connecting with the energies from the
Of the
earth.
earth.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm. We could talk forever, Bill.
I know. But the thing is that I think, you know, I'm sure some people think I'm a bit normal, but Vicky's a bit weird, you know. I mean, everybody knows Vicky's a bit
So much.
weird, but but um, you know, I'm sure that a lot of people kind of identify with these things without feeling weird,
Yeah.
you know.
No, it's nothing to do with weird.
Uh-huh.
It's just your spirit talking to you practically.
Yeah.
Take them off, go running, just listen to music. There's messages everywhere. There's messages and music. People just don't know how to listen. They don't listen anymore.
Right. I think that's very true. We don't listen to each other very
No,
much, and
no,
probably we don't listen to ourselves either.
no, you should. You have to listen to that instinct, that gut
Hmm.
instincts. That's and also messages and ask. Just tune into your family. Just ask.
Yeah.
You can ask them for messages. I say it to people. How can I get a message? I said, well, right. Well, just ask when you go home. Ask them to do something specifically.
Hmm.
Ask them to. Usually, does it, one of the big signs is they like to mess with water. So the people will go home and then they might have a leak or a
Right.
still of water. There's a big link with water, Bill.
Yes.
So they'll find that there's been a burst pipe or something's happening,
Uh-huh.
or they'll find, I'll say, ask for a specific piece of music that was relating to you and your family who are not on this earth plane now. I says, and you will hear that music be played somewhere along the line within the day. And it
Right.
happens.
Right.
It's all that, well, I believe anyway, but not everybody does.
Sure. Sure.
I can make that magic happen for somebody else. I can show them how to do it.
Sure. I mean,
Tune in.
for me, the gut instinct thing is very often about not doing things. It's about not, I don't know, jumping at things. It's sometimes it's about sitting back and saying, you know, if something has to happen, it has to happen in its own time, not because I force it. So
No.
for me, the gut instinct is sometimes about, no, 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 I'm not going to do this. Um,
Yeah.
and, you know, not that something bad would necessarily happen if I did, but it probably wouldn't feel the right thing and wouldn't take me to the right place.
Because it's all about the timing. Everything is about timing.
Yeah.
everything in your life, the things you've done, the places you've been, the times, the months, everything is about timing.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's your greatest gift,
Mm.
time.
Yeah.
And don't waste it.
No. And if people are interested in getting in touch with you, how would they do
Mhm.
that?
Well, you can find me through my website,
Which is
Crystal Clearanne.
Crystal Clear Anne. Okay.
Bear with me, at gmail.com.
All right. Okay. So that's an email contact. Crystalclearanne at gmail.com.
Yeah, and also on Facebook. I'm on Facebook.
Uh,
Look, just look for Crystal Clearanne. You'll find me.
right. Okay.
Yes, I'm. Yeah, find me through Google, and also my phone number. And
And
I do events. I do all kinds of stuff.
our time is up, believe it or not. Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much for
much.
joining me today. It's been fascinating talking to you. Really,
Thank
really enjoyed chatting to you today. And well, can I just wish everyone great weekend when it comes, and we'll be back next week. Thank you, Anne.
thank you, Bill. Bye bye for
Bye
now.
bye now.